Like cars, trains, maxi taxis, buses, planes, subways, and boats, our body has its very own transport system. Join me on a journey today to learn about a very important component of this transport system. Our transport system has a lot of moving parts. Unlike simple organisms, for humans, simple diffusion will not work. That's right.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Some tiny organisms, like bacteria, are made up of a single cell. Everything they need comes into their cell membrane: food, oxygen, any other material. Large organisms, however, like humans, you and I, are made up of millions and trillions even of cells. Larger organisms need complex transport systems, and this is really because of one simple idea: surface area to volume ratio. Using these two cubes, I will be able to demonstrate this. Let's look at the two cubes. The first cube has dimensions of 1 cm by 1 cm by 1 cm. Each face would have an area of 1 cm squared. The second cube has dimensions of 2 cm by 2 cm by 2 cm, which means that each face would have an area of 4 cm squared. The surface area of the first cube is 6, whereas the surface area of the larger cube is 24 cm squared. The volume of the first cube is 1 cm cube, whereas the volume of the second cube is 8 cm cube. When we compare the surface area to volume as a ratio for the smaller cube, this gives us 6:1. For the larger cube, this gives us 24:8, which simplified is 3:1. I know, miss, that math's not mathsing.
It's not even giving what y'all said it was supposed to give. No.
Let's imagine this same concept in terms of two cells, cell A and cell B. To get oxygen, both of these cells must have it first diffuse through its cell membrane. Since the smaller cell has more surface area relative to its volume, every part of that volume can be supplied with oxygen at a faster rate compared to the larger cell. As you could see, it would take too long for the center of the larger cell to be supplied with what it needs because of its surface area to volume ratio. If you look carefully at the two cotton balls, both given the same amount of dye at the center, after 5 minutes, look at the difference in the rate of absorption. That's that surface area to volume ratio. If a large organism were made of a single cell, the exchange of materials simply wouldn't happen fast enough. Since our bodies are made up of so many cells, it's important that these cells get the materials they need when they need it. This is the reason why we have a circulatory system.
Oh my God! Wow!
Now that we know why we need a transport system, let's look at what is transported. The circulatory system carries substances from place to place within the body. For example, glucose enters the blood that flows through the small intestine when you are absorbing a meal. Glucose is not the only substance transported by the blood. There are many more. Nutrients, water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, hormones, antibodies, urea, and even heat are transported around the human body. So what is this transport medium that flows around to supply each and every cell? If you haven't guessed by now, it's our blood. Did you know that each adult has approximately 5 liters of blood, that's about 10.6 pints, containing about 15,000 million red blood cells that travel around the body in around 80,000 kilometers. That is about 50,000 miles worth of blood vessels. Let's look at the components of blood. Our plasma makes up 55% of our blood. Red blood cells make up 44%, and white blood cells and platelets make up 1%. All these components together make up the rich mixture that is known as blood. This mixture carries cells and liquid and huge amounts of nutrients that we need. But what does each cell look like? Let's take a look at them one by one. Our plasma is a yellow liquid, and if you look at it on its own, in the absence of other blood components, our plasma looks very yellow. It is the liquid part of our blood, made mostly of water, and it is the solvent medium that transports all the important nutrients that we need. Red blood cells, on the other hand, make up the vast majority of our blood. It is the main component, and it is more numerous than any other cell. It is packed with a red pigment called hemoglobin, and it is made in the bone marrow. Our red blood cells are shaped like a disc with no nucleus, allowing it to transport lots of oxygen. This helps in that transport with hemoglobin. Our white blood cells are our defense mechanism. They are two types, phagocytes and lymphocytes, each of them playing different roles. Phagocytes engulf bacteria, while lymphocytes form antibodies. A noticeable difference between the both of them is that phagocytes have a lobed nucleus, whereas lymphocytes have a large whole nucleus. Our platelets are small cell fragments in our blood. These platelets are responsible for helping our blood to clot.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Learn something from this.
The human body is so amazing and always interesting to learn about. Today, we took a look into our transport system. All organisms need transport systems, and depending on how complex that organism is, it will determine how complex the transport system needs to be. We learned how to calculate surface area to volume ratio, as well as learned about how our surface area to volume ratio tells us how quickly materials can be transported throughout a cell or organism. Our bodies transport several things. These include carbon dioxide, oxygen, hormones, urea, nutrients, heat, and antibodies. And the blood is the transport medium within our circulatory system to get these things around. It contains plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, and each of these components plays a critical role. Red blood cells transport oxygen. Plasma is the liquid part of the blood made up mainly of water. White blood cells are part of our defense against disease and microorganisms. Platelets play a key role in blood clotting. Our experiment is a fun way to remember the function and characteristics of many of the components of blood. Try it on your own, using your own ingredients. Okay, that's it for the recap. We went through a lot today. Now, let's review and recap with some quick, simple questions. What did you learn?
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me. You in my business? Yeah, don't do that.
From love songs to poems and movies, this organ gets a lot of shade. However, from a biological point of view, It is the powerhouse muscle responsible for getting our blood and all that it carries where it needs to go. If anything goes wrong with it, trust me, you'll know. It's not just a pump, but the pump. And without it, well... Thanks for joining me on this transport journey. I hope you enjoyed it. Until we meet again, remember 2 things.
Watch your mouth.
And don't forget, stay curious. Bye for now.